Hello everyone, welcome to Devops tutorial. First of all, wishing all of you a very happy new year. Stay blessed and let's learn more and more DevOps tools, techniques, scripts, and everything related to DevOps with this new year. So let's start with our version control tool for today, which is Git. So Git is the most common version control tool which is being used nowadays because of its distributed nature. Coming to the focus, that is Git part. Git is a distributed version control tool. By distributed we mean it's not central. Like if you know about other version control tools, CVS or SVN, which are centralized, which means that for the version control to run or for the people to work, every time the central server should be up so that you can commit from you can check out the branches, tags, or files and directories and then commit it. But for Git, as it is distributed, we don't need any central server to be up and running. Every local person or developer, QA, or and DevOps team or any other team, they can have a separate copy of all the repository, and it can work as a repository for your own machine, and you can carry on the work even if the central server is down. So let's go through the basics of Git. As mentioned in the PPT, Git is a DVCS. That is a distributed version controls system. Every person maintains a copy of the full repository whole on the single machine, and the work is done, and when the work is done they commit it or push it to the central repository. So in this case, the merits are it is very fast. It's very fast in Git because it's written in C. So it's not in some other high level language which needs to be converted to machine language and those stuffs. So once it is as it is written in C, it's very fast and it's easy for the machine to understand. Second is implicit backup. I missed the up here. So implicit backup means as multiple copies are being maintained by the users or in the client machine, so chances of data loss is very rare, because if suppose we have 10 copies and of the repo, means if 10 developers are there, they will download all the repo in their local machine. So we have 10 copies. So even if our main repo is lost or deleted somehow, we can still regain it from any of the developer machines. The third thing is it is secure. It's secure because it uses a checksum and SHA-1 method to checksum and at the time of checkout or check-in. So every file is being checked, is treated as a checksum, or you can say SHA-1 sum algorithm is being implemented while checking in or committing the files. And it's very easy to quickly branch out or create a tag, because uh, in Git it doesn't create actually a branch or tag, whatever you say. It just points to the in Git we have only a single line of you can say repository, in which branches and tags are just pointing to a particular uh, point in the repository, instead of SVN or CVS, where we literally create a new copy of the whole repo again and again. So let's move forward. Now let's talk about the terminology. So what does a local repo mean in Git? Local repo is the copy of the repository which is maintained by each user. Like we have the main repository which is hosted in GitHub, Git Stash, or any other flavor of Git. Then we down and every developer from you can say dev team or a QA team or a DevOps team or any other team member downloads the whole repository into his machine. That is a local repo. Now, what is the working area? Working area is where where the code is downloaded. Suppose you created a, you can have it in on your desktop, or you can have it in any other folder, and where you are downloading the full repository, that is the working area, or you can say workspace directly. Staging area. Now, staging area, unlike CVS or SVN, which doesn't have a staging area, Git has a special area. Like whenever you want to commit data or push, before that it should be moved from working or workspace to staging area. So it has a special stage area where the files needs to be staged so that it is under the version control of Git, and it understands I have to next time I have to commit these files or push these files to repository. Now, what does commit mean in Git is Git in SVN or CVS we have a revision based a number which represents the versioning of the file. That is, suppose we have a.js, then we committed it in with some particular change and with revision 1, and then we made some another change, then committed so it will be 2. So it keeps on incrementing itself in CVS or SVN. But in case of Git, the commit is SHA1 sum. It is the current state of the object uh, actually. Coming to the branch is the main line of development in Git. Like we have a trunk in case of SVN. So in case of Git, we have a master branch. So from that we can create separate branches for our development purpose, or we can create tags which will point to the specific point in the repository. So now coming to tags, tags are just similar to branches and immutable, but these are immutable. You cannot commit into a tag. It is mainly used for the stable releases where it's the marker of the releases. Like suppose you have the project, and in that we have release 1, release 2, release 3. So which are stable ones. So if you want, you can go back to the releases. For that purpose, we create a tag. Now, what does a clone mean? Clone means it creates an instance of the repository. That is, it is the mirror of the repository. So whenever you have a Git hosted in GitHub, Git stash, and all, when once you do Git clone, it will create the mirror of the same repository available in the Git server to your local machine. Now, what does a pull do? Pull copies the change from the remote repository instance to local. Means it is similar to SVN update if you know SVN. Okay, let me explain you what a pull is. So once you have cloned the repository, you have all the details of the repository, mirror of the repository, and all. Now someone commits to the repository. That is, so repository will be having more changes and all, but your machine, when you at the time you clone and the time someone committed, so if suppose you keep it a clone, you clone the repository and many check-ins have been done, and you on the another day you come and you want to work on the code, but you should have the latest code. In case of SVN, we can do it with SVN update. So similar thing, we can update your repository with the help of git pull command. What is a push? Push is similar to SVN commit. Here also we have git commit in, but the difference between SVN commit and git commit is git commit will commit to your local repository. That is, commit to the your local machine's repository, and push will move that to the server. That is git server. But in SVN commit, if you do SVN commit, there is no such concept of local repository in SVN. So everything is pushed to the central server. So hope it is clear. Let's move to the next point, that is head. Head is always pointing to the latest revision or commit. It is same in both cases of Git and SVN. Git environment setup. Now for setting up the environment, Git environment, this I'm specifically talking about the client here. So for Windows, you can download it from here, the exe, and just double click and run it. Once it is done, just set up in your environment path in My Computer Advanced tab. You can set the path of the Git so that no need to so that it automatically remembers, like whenever you do Git, you don't need to give the full path for running the Git commands. Now for Linux and Ubuntu, we have Ubuntu and Red Hat. The commands are separate as per their OS. So you can do sudo apt get install git core is the client version for Ubuntu. For Red Hat, you can do sudo yum -y install git core. And for verifying both on Windows and Linux flavors, the command is same git minus minus version, which will give you the latest version you have installed in your Linux or Windows, the git version. Now coming to the environment setup, that is customizing your git client. First of all, let me start a Git and show you how to do Git version. So if you want to check the Git version or Git is installed or not on your system, just simply, it doesn't depend on the OS. You can type the same command in Linux or Windows. It will show the details. So whether it is installed or not on my server, let's see it. So yeah, I have already installed Git. So it is Git version 2.9.2. Windows 1 is the one installed in my system. Now let's move on by setting up the environment. So these things, actually environment setup is not required, but it is good if you can set up everything so that it doesn't ask or prompt for you whenever you want to work again and again for the details. So to set up the default email for this particular machine, like if you do git commit push, what will should be the default user and email. So you can do those things with the help of uh, the git commands, like git config is the command for updating the username. Git config minus minus glow user dot name, and you can give amrit your name, which will set the by default username to use for git client. Then if you want to set up the email, similarly you can edit it here. Just pass on your mail ID so that git can further reference for the same whenever you want to directly fetch uh, the details. Then if you want to set up the color highlighting while doing git commit and status or branch, whatever you do the git commands, it should show in color. So for that we also have configuration. So you can do git color something color dot true, I think. Yeah, color color dot ui is true, so which will set the color parameters when you want to operate using git commands. So if you want us color for status also, like when getting git status command, you want a color, you can set that also. So the command is git config minus minus global color dot status auto. Similarly, when you want a color for branch, you can set it using the same command, uh, that is git config minus minus global color dot branch auto. You can also set up the default editor, like whenever you're doing merging and those things, so it may open up in a particular editor for editing the files or resolving the conflicts. So those can be set up with the help of git config minus minus global core dot editor. Vim. So Vim is the editor for you can say Unix or Linux machines. Now setting up the merge tool. So when you do a merge, so how it will display the merge default things. So you can set up the Vim diff tool for that, or you can also use the Vim for that. So let's set up Vim diff for the same. Merge tool. Now, if you want to check what all parameters are by default saved in your uh, Git config global parameters for the current client, you can check it using git config minus minus list command. So it displays what all are the parameters being automatically set for this Git client. Now let's talk about the before starting the Git commands and getting more into it. Let's start and know and understand how a Git client works, or what is the life cycle of the Git. So first of all, we have a Git repository which may be hosted in GitHub, Git Stash, or any other flavor. So from there, basically we clone it to our local machine. So working copy is always on your local machine. Like in my case, my laptop, in your case, your laptop, or any other VM if you're creating. So we clone the exact repository into the local machine or your laptop. So which will contain all the same repository, the full repository will be there in your local machine now. Now the next step is, once we have downloaded the repository, we want to add or remove some files or edit something, that is do our operation work. So when the operation work is done, that is we have modified the working copy, what we can do is uh, after doing that, we can check a status with the help of git status or git diff command to see the operation, or what is the difference, or what is the status after we have modified the files. Then we can review the changes. Once we are sure that the diff changes are in the status and all everything looks good, we can commit it and push it to the local repository. So basically you should understand the difference here. Once you do a commit, it will be committed to the local repository, that is the repository within your laptop. When you push it, it will be moved to the repository, that is git repository host server, that is GitHub or Git Stash or GitLab, whatever is your service. Then if you still feel like after commit, suppose you have missed the comment you passed is not correct, or if you want to amend something, you can just fix your mistakes and then again push. So this is the basic life cycle of Git. So let me explain one more thing which I missed is, like, suppose you have on the first day you clone the repository, you have the working copy, and you were busy fixing some issues, and but you cannot commit that day. So the next day you come, and so you don't need to clone it again, because already you have cloned the repository, you have all the branches, tags, etc. within your local. So that time you can just update the operation using git pull or git fetch command, for updating the repository uh, instead of cloning it again, so which is equivalent to your SVN update. Okay, thank you guys, thanks for listening, and I hope you understand the basic outflow of Git, the basics of Git. So then stay tuned for the next tutorial, which will start from creating the repository, doing file changes, committing. That's it. Okay, thanks.